Hi guys, I'm back with my second MHAR model, which is the two cheaper World War One models, which I bought a couple of months ago. And if you look back through my videos, you'll find the Whippet that I've built and put on a diorama. So this is the Mark IV, which I've been looking forward to. I've always wanted to make one of these, and the Tamiya one, because it comes with all the batteries and the motor, was a bit too expensive. So I'm glad I've found this. With the help of comments on my videos, I found this cheaper version, which is pretty sturdy. The tracks, some issues with the tracks fitting. There's not very clear runners to sit the tracks on when you're fitting that on to the body. I mean, it was really simple to put together though, and I enjoyed it. And obviously it suits me because I enjoy doing the First World War trench dioramas. So I'll put something together for this, but I don't do that in this video. So yeah, Mark IV, British tank from the First World War. The Mark I was in the Somme battle. The Mark II and III were just experiments, and then the Mark IV was used in 1917, 1918 at 4 or 5 battles, where it just got stuck in the mud usually, but frightened the enemy enough that it was the potential of tanks was seen. I think it was 27 tons. The female one. The female one's got machine guns. MHAR I think make the female, and they make the tadpole version, which is slightly longer to get across trenches. But that was an experimental version, and they never used it in action. I tend to like tanks that have been used, not to like any kind of prototype tanks. Same when I made model planes, I didn't like anything that wasn't in proper use. So the top and the bottom are just solid pieces, the back's a solid piece, and you end up with this lovely hollow that you're about to put the sides on. I feel like somebody with more ingenuity than me and skill than me could actually build an interior for this. The sponsons obviously had naval guns in, or with in this case, the female one, they just had machine guns in. So there's lots of just racking for ammunition, and then the majority of the hull is taken up with the engine in the centre. It's a big London bus engine, I think. Yeah, that'd be a real project to do. And the driver's seats and all the other supporters who help the driver are up right at the front. Yeah, but I've not put anything inside it, and it seems sturdy enough that I didn't even need to really put any reinforcement inside of it, even though the whole majority of the body is just empty. I had a crew of 8, and I think most of them were assisting the commander to drive it because it was quite difficult to drive. And obviously the fumes, and you can read lots of reports about how dreadful it was to drive. And what I was looking forward to was just mudding it up. They often got stuck in the mud, these tanks, but they got filthy. I read a report once that they started considering doing camouflage ones, but then they found that they got so dirty so quickly that it didn't even make a difference. The mud would camouflage them. I think that's why the Whippet has the internal sliders between the tracks to let dirt slide out, and this just gets filthy. The tracks just drag mud up all over the body of it. So that's the plan. The tracks are kind of thick vinyl. They're not like the Tamiya type where they're like an elastic band, they hang loose. These are rigid and you have to bend them into shape. So my advice would be to use super glue to get a faster connection rather than the plastic glue. You can use the plastic glue. Plastic glue will stick these tracks, but it's just a matter of them moving, shifting. Even if you've got them clipped whilst they're dry, there could be a little bit of movement. So I used the super glue and just did it in stages and bent it where I needed to. Because of the way the side walls go on, there's not a lot of detail inside. The sprocket wheel, the idler wheel, they're just very rudimentary, and no internal detail, because obviously the hatches are tiny. The vision ports, sorry, are tiny, so you can't see inside the vehicle. There'd be doors and stuff, but none of them are openable, and all the sides, the top, the back and the front are all just complete units. You know, but it's a good simple thing to do if you just want to do a First World War diorama. I'm at the stage, guys, where I've made lots of these videos. I've done it for nearly 12 months now. I think I started last March, and it was to deal with the lockdown. Even though I was still working, I was not socialising as much, obviously, and I'd started to build these guys, these bigger tanks. Well, tanks altogether, because previously I just built planes. I started to build tanks and go up a scale because I wanted something that would be more absorbing, take more time. And I think I described this in my first videos. The year's passed and the UK now is out of all of its lockdowns and restrictions. Certainly by the 24th of March it will be, which I think is exactly a month since I started, strangely, since I started making the videos. Oh, you've enjoyed the videos, guys. I've had some lovely comments, and yeah, as you can probably appreciate, it's quite time consuming, and especially the rate at which I did it for most of that year. I tried to do a video a week, and I was doing a diorama a week, and then alternate weeks was the model to go on the diorama. And you know, I've enjoyed it and I've learned a lot, but I certainly won't be able to sustain that. So I'm not saying this has been my last video, but I think it's been interesting to do it for a year, and obviously YouTube gives you a year or so to reach certain targets in terms of numbers of views and hours viewed and numbers of followers, and if you have a really good year, then you qualify for the monetization. But obviously this channel didn't come near to that. So, but yeah, I think I've not decided yet whether I'll keep just making tanks for my own pleasure, or when I do make tanks, film them and just not try and do it as regularly as I did it last year. So I'm not sure, guys, but thanks for following along so far. Thanks for your comments and stuff. I have enjoyed doing it. Managed the whole year without an airbrush as well, just using the old paintbrush, and try my best without too many fancy expensive gadgets and effects. And yeah, that's the way I enjoy doing it. I think it's probably the way I'll always do it. I did take viewers' advice when it came to using rattle can primer, and I think I'll stick to that. That's just a nice surface to work on. But yeah, well, we'll see what the future holds anyway. But it's been a good year. There's some question marks, obviously, when if you do any research into these ones, into British armour from this period. The same as British aircraft, actually, I found in this period. That sometimes on the box art they're green, sometimes brown, and you find with the planes that they were painted brown, but they were doped with a kind of varnish to protect the paintwork, and that varnish turned green in time because of the sunlight. So the similar thing with the tank, really, that they were painted a brown, which had green as an ingredient in it, I think. And when people try and replicate the same colour nowadays, they get variations of different tones. So the box art sometimes can be a bit misleading. I think the majority of the museum vehicles, I think there's about 8 of these in museums around Europe, 1 in Australia and 1 in America, and I think the majority of those are brown, but you do see a lot of model makers painting them dark green and light green. But I'd suggest that if you were going to do some green mixed in with your brown, but try and keep it brownish. I used to, when I was doing the planes, I bought the I think it's called PC10, the exact colours, but then I used to just, from plane to plane, I used to just put different amounts of the green in, so that there was always a bit of variation in my aircraft from the First World War, some of which I've posted on my Instagram, actually, which is Supermodel Dave, same as this. Just recently I saw I've been posting First World War tanks and First World War biplanes. But yeah, so I went just with the khaki grey by Vallejo, which is just a nice sandy brown. If you know you're going down the route of putting it on a diorama, then I always think you don't need dioramas to be just brown, brown and brown. So I wanted this to be lighter and a bit more sandy, and then I'm going to put it on a muddy stretch of battlefield. I've still got 2 sets of First World War figures. I've not decided yet whether I'm going to use them, but so the decals are nice. As with the Whippet by MH, you got a lot of options for German vehicles. The Germans, I think, got 40 of these and they resurrected them usually when they'd just been broken down on the battlefield. So you can see that I've put a sort of log strapped to the back there. That's an unditching tool. These tanks had fascines of branches that they could drop in trenches to help them get over the trench, and they were carried on a guardrail, that ran along the roof. Now the MHA tank rail is a bit chunky and a bit unpleasant really, and the way it fixed, it just looked to me awkward, and I decided early on that I wasn't going to use it. And what I was going to do was make the fascines out of skewers, bamboo skewers for kebabs, and so I'd planned before I even unboxed the model that's what I was going to do, but I abandoned it. I liked the exhaust. I wanted to put some storage on it, so they did carry storage on the roof, and I wanted to focus on the mud. And in the end, the rails I started assembling them, and they were pretty chunky, and the moulding was not very good. So all I did was put the unditching, put a log on the back as an unditching tool. Now, if you see the pictures, usually chained to the back of the roof is a kind of girder, is a kind of angular beam, and that was attached to the tracks whenever the tank got stuck, and it would run round the tracks when it started again, and it would catch some purchase on the ground and be able to give it some grip to get out of the ditch that it was in. So it's an unditching tool, but I've just used a wooden sort of log as that, and as you can see, I've put some tea cans, some canvas, some ammunition boxes and stuff like that just beside the exhaust. The decals are alright with this, the same as the Whippet guys if you've watched that video. They're thick, they're like denim, they're that thick, so use the chemicals that you've got to soften them, put them in place, and use the chemicals that you've got to fix them. And then I put some Pledge Future polish over it, and then I did some weathering over it as well, just to try and blend them in a bit, and it has done the job. You'll get there eventually, but like I say, I think there's 3 very similar versions of British tanks, and then there's huge Iron Cross, Maltese Cross type things for various German versions. I used oils then to pick out some of the rivets, because there is some nice detail on it. And because it's one plain colour, it can take a lot of weathering and a lot of pin wash and stuff like that. I did the tracks, I did silver, as I did with the Whippet, and then painted over that and just scrubbed it off after it had dried. Painted over it with black, and I'm muddying them up at the last stage as well with some Vallejo dust and dirt effects. Yeah, I don't know how this compares with the Tamiya version. It's less than half price here in the UK, and I expect the Tamiya version, if you're not putting the motor in, you know, it's a simple vehicle. It's a flat-sided, flat-topped vehicle. It can't be hugely different. I think it does look good when you see on YouTube people using the motor to make the tank drive around on the floor, but that's not why I make these. They're not toys. I just make them to put on a diorama to capture a moment in history, and it doesn't really appeal to me to spend extra to get a model that drives around like a little toy. I think the benefit of the Tamiya one is, I think it's the male version with the I think 16-pounder gun, 6-pounder gun, sorry. This tank was made by various different companies in Britain, tractor makers in Lincoln, and then train builders and shipbuilders as well. I think it's quite an interesting little story if you look into it. The industrial past of Britain is quite interesting. And once the design was worked out, it was handed across to about 6 or 7 different companies, and they each produced it to the specs. So I'm using the Sandy dried mud by Vallejo, and I'm just using it with some water to make it, to dissolve it, so that I can have it as a dusty kind of wash. But I'll be honest, guys, I overdid it a little bit, and when it dried the next day, I didn't like it. There was too much on it, so I scrubbed it back a little bit. And for that, you can be quite rough, because it doesn't come off easily when you've wet it. I got kind of stiff bristled brush and washed it back. So I hope you like it, guys. Let me know what you think, and thanks for looking. There's pictures on my Instagram as usual, and thanks for commenting and watching, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.